Alif? Alif? Boleh dengar ke? Hello, testing 1, 2, 3. Dengar?
Yes, very clear, Cikgu Deva.
Hello, hello. Dapat?
Dapat. Hello,
Hello.
Cikgu Deva. We can listen.
Stephanie. You
Yes.
can listen me, right?
Yes, very clear.
Loud
very
and clear, Teva. I can hear you.
Oh, hi, Alviana.
Hi, Teva.
No, actually I wanted to test the bell.
Oh, okay.
So I just okay.
Can try lah. Okay lah.
Yes.
Can?
Mm-mm.
Can hear?
Can. I'm not sure about the debaters lah.
The most important thing is the debater lah.
Yeah lah, true.
Nazar, later ask them in the group, whether they can hear the sound or not. I don't want them to complain later. So later the speaker will, the MC will ask them. MC.
Okay, debaters. Okay, congratulations. Now you are in preliminary 2. So I order all debaters to change and rename their names according to their position first. I saw that the government should change then rename their names to their position for the government. For example, Prime Minister PM, Deputy Prime Minister DPM, Government Whip GW, for opposition, Leader of Opposition LO, and Deputy Leader of Opposition DLO, and the Opposition Whip OW. So it's easier for everyone, especially the judges, to look into you. Hello, adjudicator is here.
Nazaret, I think, is this Baru team? I'm not supposed to be in this team. Then I'm not supposed to judge this group.
Yeah, correct. Because, okay, according to the list that we have got, so in this room, the adjudicators are Mr. Johnny, Mr. Edmund, and Miss Nazira.
In that case, we are in the wrong room lah.
Okay, I leave the room.
Yeah, you
Okay.
all of the.
Also, yeah lah. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we are going to start in a few seconds. Before that, we would like to ask the judges. The judges all ready?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I invite all debaters, the main debaters, to open the camera. We are going to start now, yeah? Okay, everyone, I hope ready for this. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to preliminary 2 of Tan Sri Dato Seri Panglima Dr. Abdul Rahman Arshad Virtual English Language Debate Competition 2021, jointly presented to you by PPD Bintulu and SMK Baru Bintulu. I am Muhammad Nazareth Arifin, and I will be the speaker of the house, and Ms. Tevanai will be the timekeeper for this room. The motion for this round is, this house believes that COVID-19 vaccination should be a precondition for students to resume in-person classes. Before we proceed, I would like to remind the speakers of both teams of some rules and guidelines to observe in the course of debate. Here are the general rules for the debate. The first, second, and third speakers of each team will be given 8 minutes to speak. For the reply speech, the reply speaker is given 4 minutes to deliver the speech. The timekeeper will ring the bell once after the first minute and at the end of the 7 minutes to signal the time allocated for point of information. At the end of the 8 minutes, the bell will be rung twice. Point of information can be offered only after the first minute and before 7 minutes of your opponent's speech. A maximum time of 3 minutes will be given to both teams to prepare for the reply speech. During the reply speech, the timekeeper will ring the bell once and the third minute to signal that the debater has 1 minute left. At the end of the fourth minute, the bell will be rung twice to signal the end of the debate. Make sure that you mute your microphone if you are not speaking. Ladies and gentlemen, before we begin, let me introduce to you our panel of adjudicators for today's debate. The chief adjudicator is Mr. Johnny Ling Lehwai from SMK Ashakirin. Next, we have Mr. Edmund Goh Yang Kai from SMK Kemana. And last but not least is Ms. Nazira Binti Barsil from SMK Kidurong. On behalf of the House, I extend a warm welcome to our judges. Now, let's invite the government bench from SMK Baru and opposition bench from SMK Bandar to introduce themselves. Let's begin with government bench.
Hello, am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes, start to introduce your name first, yeah?
All right. Hi, I am Emily Kajimi and I am the Prime Minister.
Assalamualaikum.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Assalamualaikum and good morning to everyone. My name is Intan Shafinas. I am the leader of oppositions for today's motion. Thank you.
Hello, am I audible?
Yeah.
I'm Nur Aina Rasida, and I am the Deputy Prime Minister of the government team.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes.
Okay. Hello, my name is Darren, and I am the Deputy Leader of Opposition for the opposition team.
Okay, thank you. Government Whip?
Am I audible?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Atika, and I'm the government whip.
Hello, good morning to everyone. My name is Nelson Leo, and I'm opposition whip for the opposition team.
Okay, thank you. For the bench, government bench and the opposition bench. Okay, now may I know who are going to deliver the reply speech for government?
I will be delivering the reply speech.
Aina Rasida.
Yes.
And the opposition?
And I will be delivering the reply speech.
Darren.
Yes.
Okay. Without further ado, I call this House to order on the motion. This House believes that COVID-19 vaccination should be a precondition for students to resume in-person classes. Let's invite the Prime Minister to begin her main speech.
Okay, hello, am I audible?
Yes.
Okay, I will start in 3, 2, 1. A very good morning. I bid to the adjudicators, wise timekeeper, honorable judges, members of the opposition team, and also members of the floor. Today, I, as the Prime Minister, will take the lead to convince you why you should stand with us to support and accept this motion. This House believes that COVID-19 vaccination should be a precondition for students to resume in-person classes. We, the government team, strongly believe and agree that this motion should be accepted. Government team will have 3 arguments, and I will present one argument on the point of lessen the possibilities to be affected by COVID-19. My second speaker will present another 2 arguments on the point of convince the society and increase the students' productivity. Before I go on to present our first argument, let's take a look at the definition of today's motion. COVID-19 is a virus or disease that already killed millions of people all around the world. And as for the vaccination, is vaccination when you get vaccinated. In short, today's motion is why vaccination is a must or is a should if the student wanted to resume the physical classes at school. But before I go on to my argument, let's take a look at the word vaccine first. What is vaccine? Vaccine is a weak bacteria or a weak virus that is used to encourage humans' antibody or to protect humans' body from the disease. Now, let's go back to my argument. Once again, I would like to repeat our point our argument. Our first argument is to lessen the possibilities to be affected by COVID-19. As we all know, thousands, millions, or billions of people was infected and killed by this virus. As a result, it of course interrupt our daily life. People cannot go to school. People lose their job. People suicide because of losing their job. If we go outside, people are so afraid to go outside right now. If we go outside, we will get the chance to be infected by the virus. Now, if we take a look at another country like Scotland, Nowadays, wearing face mask is already optional because and school is also reopened. Why I said so is because the amount of people who get vaccinated, the amount of people who is vaccinated is already higher than the people who is not vaccinated in their country. Now, second, why do I say it is to lessen the possibilities to be infected by COVID-19? It is to increase the herd immunity. If we take a look at why we should take the vaccination, why the government keep on telling us to get vaccinated, it is to reach the herd immunity. This herd immunity is for our body to protect ourselves from the virus. Yes, of course, before you disagree with me, of course, this vaccine is not the cure to this virus or not the cure to this COVID-19. And there is no cure for this. But by getting vaccinated, we can prevent its impact if you are infected. For example, you are vaccinated, but you are infected by the virus. It won't lead you to death. Not necessarily it won't lead you to death, but the possibility of you getting on the death bed is lower than the possibility of you getting cured by the vaccine. Okay. Now, it is also a precaution to ensure that students, if we see now at schools, before the schools lockdown, open, then lockdown again and open again, we know that the schools already do many types of things to prevent the kids from getting close to each other. They do social distancing, but it is not work. It doesn't work. It doesn't work really well. So by getting this vaccine, it will ultimate. Yes, please. Accept it.
If you said that these social distancing measures are not actually that effective, then why are we still using them?
Yeah, pardon? Can you?
If you said that these social distancing, standard operating measures, let's say, are not really effective, then why are we still implementing them in our daily lives now?
Okay, so basically you are saying why if we are social distancing, why do we still get infected or that? Am I correct?
You said that it wasn't as effective, and I was wondering if it wasn't effective, why are we still implementing it now?
Yeah, it is one of the ways for us to prevent it. It is one of the way for people who doesn't get the vaccinated, because for this virus to get infected to each other is from touching, or from the symptom of this COVID-19 is from people touching or from the saliva. That's why we need to social distancing. For example, if you talk to, I talk to you face by face, physically, and then we don't do social distancing. If I suddenly spit on your face, there is a chance for you to get infected by the COVID-19. And then let's go back to what I was saying before. Why I said this vaccination should be a precondition for students to resume in-person classes is to ultimately result in the decreased cases among students. If we see at last year, 2020, at Sabah, the SPM student needs to further the SPM schedule they have to further the SPM schedule because some of the student is infected. We don't want that to happen again. And with that, to jump into my conclusion, I would like to say that all my argument is supposed to be enough to convince you why you should stand with us and why you should accept the motion for today's view. Before I end my cast, I would like to reaffirm our team line, which is we absolutely agree and accept this motion for today. This House believes that COVID-19 vaccination should be a precondition for students to resume in-person classes. With that, I propose.
Thank you. The first speaker from the government bench. The speaker spoke for 7 minutes and 58 seconds. The speaker spoke for 7 minutes and 58 seconds. Ladies and gentlemen, members of the floor, now let's continue. We invite the leader of opposition to begin her main speech.
Good morning. I be to the members of the floor. The motion for today is this House believes that COVID-19 vaccination should be a precondition for students to resume in-person classes. We disagree with the definition given by the government team because the statement is not very clear. Firstly, the definition of COVID-19 vaccination is the antidote of corona that prevents someone from catching a disease. Next, the definition of preconditions is the situation before the state a thing is in, while resume is defined as to begin again. Lastly, person classes is the reality classes that include physical person in some place. However, we as the opposition team strongly disagree with the motion. So to start off, I will give our team line that we as the opposition team strongly disagree with the motion that that COVID-19 vaccination should be a precondition for students to resume in-person classes. Today, our first argument will be provided by me under the key phrase, not safety for the student under the age. And my second speaker are going to presenting our second argument under the key phrase of certain students cannot go to school. And our third argument under the key phrase of cannot prevent students from affected. Last but not least, my third speaker are going to conclude our argument. Before I'm moving to my first argument, I'm going to rebut the first argument given by the first speaker of the government team. The first speaker from the affirmative team has tried to tell that vaccinated can protect them, even though they go to everywhere. This is wrong because, as we can see, got a lot of people that have been affected even though they got vaccinated. That is my rebuttals. Ladies and gentlemen, now I'm going to present our first argument that the COVID-19 vaccination, is not safe for underage students. It is because the student might get side effects such as difficult breathing, swollen, and fever after getting the vaccination. Certain people have got different side effects as the different antibody in their immune system, especially the student under the age. This is because they are too young. And the antibody is not even better than the adult. Furthermore, as we can see, the human that has been vaccinated still get affected with COVID-19. Then how about the student? The student will be going to school which crowded place, so it can increases the case of COVID-19, and also the quality human being is disrupted. As a result, COVID-19 vaccination do not compromise the student safety over educational in-person classes. Therefore, I want to emphasize that it is absolutely wrong saying that COVID-19 vaccination should be a precondition for students to resume in-person classes because COVID-19 vaccination is not totally safe for under the age students, especially students that got some allergies with antidote. Before I raise my case, I want to reaffirm our team line that we as the opposition team strongly disagree with the motion that COVID-19 vaccination should be a precondition for students to resume in-person classes. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not compromise the students' safety, especially in the crowded place, such as school. With that, I oppose. Thank you.
Thank you, the leader of opposition, for the speech just now. Speaker spoke for 4 minutes and 32 seconds. Speaker spoke for 4 minutes and 32 seconds. Okay, before we proceed to the next speech, it is reminded that every debaters to count 3, 2, 1 before starting the speech. Dear debaters and members of the floor. Next, let's continue. Let's invite Deputy Prime Minister to begin her main speech.
Am I audible?
Yes, Miss.
Okay. I will begin my speech in 3, 2, 1. Assalamu alaikum and good morning to the adjudicators, the wise timekeepers, the fellow members of the opposition, and the members of the floor. I, as the Deputy Minister of the government team, will be presenting another 2 points on why COVID-19 vaccines should be a precondition for students to resume in-person classes. I will be presenting these points under the key phrases of convincing the society and increasing students' productivity. First of all, the first speaker of the opposition team stated that the people who were vaccinated are still infected. But even though that this still happens to those people, vaccines can actually lessen the pain and the possibilities of chronic side effects due to COVID-19. Now, let me move on to our second point, which is convincing the society. And what do I mean by convincing the society, and how does this apply to today's motion? Convincing the society means to convince the society to send their children to school. And why does the execution of today do so? Because the society will feel much more confident as the COVID-19 vaccine is given to the students to ensure their safety. This will eventually result in a trusting society, and disagreements can be prevented. Even though that there is a lot of controversial topics regarding the issue of reopening schools, but by providing vaccines, this will help reduce these kinds of arguments. Aside from that, students will be able to learn freely despite the fact that a virus is actually around them. My argument affects the society's way of thinking into a much more positive side, which will encourage a safe place for students to learn. I'll give you... Yes, accepted?
You said that the society will trust parents to send children to physical classes at school. But what is the current problem with the online schools? Because we have actually no problems with the current way of teaching?
Okay, I will touch on that topic on my next argument. So I will continue later. Okay, let me continue. Let me give you evidence on how the COVID-19 vaccine can actually impact the society's way of thinking. Stated from the first speaker, in overseas, such as places in LA, they're almost free because a majority of the society has actually received the COVID-19 vaccine. This clearly gives a good impact to the society as they are able to send their children to school. Okay, let me move on to our third point, which is increasing students' productivity. As we all know, we have been attending online classes these past months, and as your POI stated that you may not have any problem with online classes, right? But the majority of students show that online classes are not the most effective way to learn. Why?
POI.
Yes.
If online classes are not the most effective way to learn, then why is it that in SPM 2020 it was among the greatest results we've had in a decade?
Okay, according to your POI, you have to look at the majority of students, not the high scorers. Actually, maybe the high scorers' ability is actually different than a majority of the students. So you cannot only rely on the result of the high scorers rather than the result of the majority of the students. So let me move on to my argument. Why am I saying that online classes are not the most effective way to learn? Why? This is because since they are not learning face-to-face with their teachers, they will tend to skip classes or assignments since they will be punished by teachers if they do. And why is this so? Ineffective learning in online classes are also caused by the lack of motivation, pressure, and focus. For an example, when you're in online classes, maybe the teacher won't be able to punish you if you are not doing your assignments. So this will ultimately decrease students' productivity. So let me move on. So by establishing the precondition for students to resume in online classes, this will actually increase their productivity in face-to-face school as they will feel more pressure to participate in school without worrying of getting infected at the same time. And this is how our motion today can actually impact students' productivity. By letting them go to in-person schools, it will give them more pressure to actually learn and to actually do their assignments since the teacher will be monitoring them. So to conclude, these arguments are enough proof for you to agree with today's motion. With that, I propose.
Thank you, the Deputy Prime Minister, for the speech. The speaker spoke for 6 minutes and 15 seconds. Speaker spoke for 6 minutes and 15 seconds. Next, let's invite the Deputy Leader of Opposition to begin his main speech.
Okay, I'll be starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. Okay. Good afternoon, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. The second speaker from the affirmative team has mentioned that sending children to school will increase the students' productivity. So before we proceed with the following argument in this house, I disagree with this. I strongly disagree with this because there has been evidence that online classes actually have improved the students' grades. And as I was presenting my POI, there might have been some misunderstandings because the results that I gave was based on the majority, was based on the whole rate of the actual pass or fail rates. And actually in SPM 2020, there was actually much less students failed compared to the past few years and even in this decade. Okay, so member of the House, now let me bring our attention to the following argument on the opposition's House, which is that vaccination should not be a precondition because vaccinations cannot prevent the student from being infected 100%. Because there have been numerous studies and even in the news that show that people who are vaccinated still have a chance of being infected and spreading it to others. We, the opposition, sees that the student needing to be vaccinated poses a bigger threat to the child's health poses a bigger threat to the child's health. It simply does not make sense to risk a child's health and well-being for something that does not work 100%. The main reason we, as a community, are getting our vaccinations is because we want to prevent the further spread. We want to break the chain of the COVID-19 infection among our own community. If the vaccination is unable to do that, and it cannot protect them, and in fact, actually risk their health, there is actually no solid point as to why children need to get their vaccinations. Vaccinations are actually obsolete. And now in situations like these, where there are new variants such as the more infamous Delta variant in Kuching that was hundreds of cases nowadays, and new variants such as these might have developed much more resistance towards the vaccinations that were given. So even in like Kuching, adults who have already been fully vaccinated and have still been tested positive, if they are tested positive, how about their families, their children who they will spread onto? And there is no point in vaccination if it does not defend them from that. If this is the case with the frontliners already, there is no real necessity or use as to vaccinating teenagers and children. Okay, now to my second point. Students that don't want to be vaccinated due to numerous health issues associated with it are unable to attend school. Students and parents have a lot of worries about the vaccine and whether or not it is safe for children, which has led to some to opt out of taking the vaccination. We, the opposition team, find it unfair to deprive the students' rights to an education with his or her peers for the reason that they do not wish to be injected with a vaccine that does not wish to be infected with a vaccine that has not been able to prove to be 100% effective and protect themselves. Online classes have actually become the norm nowadays because it actually has become the norm nowadays and should not be removed in current situations, especially right now. We should not compromise students' safety over their education. But even then, online classes in Malaysia have been proven to be more effective, as I've highlighted multiple times now today, that in SPM 2020, the results have shown to be significantly better than the years before and the highest in this decade. Online classes do not have any proven side effects, whereas the vaccine provided now actually does. If this is the case, and there is the possibility of a child having serious complications with the vaccine and can actually be avoided, why not? Why not opt for the option that can protect the students of these generations? Why not? Some might argue that we can divide the students into online and physical groups for classes, though it is not plausible and not a better option, as the teacher will be needing to divide their attention to both sides to make sure they are focusing. Not only does this waste your time, it also does not ensure the best quality of education is given to the child. Okay. So to sum up my argument, students being vaccinated have not yet become a necessity and actually has no real use as to maintaining a child's safety and well-being. With that, I rest my case. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, the Deputy Leader of Opposition, for the speech. Speaker spoke for 5 minutes and 18 seconds. Speaker spoke for 5 minutes and 18 seconds. Let's continue our debate. Now let's invite the government whip to begin her rebuttal's speech.
Am I audible?
Yes, Miss.
Okay, I will begin in 3, 2, 1. Assalamualaikum and a very good afternoon to the honorable judges, panel of educators, the precise timekeepers, Mrs. or Mrs. Speaker, with the opponents and all the members of the floor. I, as the third speaker, are going to do 3 things. I'm going to rebut whatever case that has been brought up by the opposition side. Secondly, I'm going to reconstruct my team's argument. And thirdly, I'm going to do conclusion about today's motion. Now, first things first, our motion today is this House believes that COVID-19 vaccination should be a precondition for students to resume in-person classes. Now, the first speaker has stated that when you get the vaccine, there will be a side effect. But yes, there is a side effect, but you have to remember the side effect doesn't last long. The main point of the vaccine is to make sure that you don't get the vaccine easily, to make sure that the possibility of you getting the COVID-19 virus is less. Simple things like side effects that doesn't last that long shouldn't be a problem when it comes to you. When it comes to preventing this type of things from happening openly. Second, the second speaker has stated that it's about certain students can't go to school. Certain student can't go to school. For that, the second speaker have told you that it is not valid because vaccine, even though you get the vaccine, you can still get infected. Yes, there is certain situation like that, but you have to see the majority of it. You can't lie to me saying that without saying that with the vaccine, it is more or less likely to be a highly openly affected area. It is highlighted that when you get the vaccine, at least it could prevent you from receiving that virus. At least when you get the vaccine, the possibility of you getting infected is low. That's what we want. We want to decrease the amount of people getting the virus. Yes, accepted.
You said that these side effects were mild and can be ignored, but we were talking about such things such as severe allergies, which might cause the person to go into an anaphylaxis. What about those cases?
Okay, for those type of side effects, there are also cures for them. There's also things that the doctor will give it to them, will prescribe to them in order to fight that type of things. But you have to see the overall picture that the vaccine has given to us, whereby it decreased the amount of people getting the virus. That's the main thing for this type of situation to be encountered as and to be managed as. Vaccine is meant for you to decrease the amount. Vaccine is meant as a gate, as a safer shield for you not to get the virus. Also, the second speaker had said that there are certain health issues regarding, like, there are certain people that can't get the vaccine because of health issues and things of that nature. Well, even though, well, there's not, well, you have to also see whereby, well, we are targeting the majority of people. I'm not saying we are neglecting people that have health issues, but you have to see that the person that experiencing health issues are so little. There are so little rather than people that have no health issues. Plus, not to mention, you also said about the grades and everything. Yes, there is proof. Yes, that's proof. But you have to also think that doesn't mean that those 2020 people that get the highest grades and things of that nature would continue in this time in 2021, because this year there's so many people that can't use social networking sites, that can't access into social networking sites to actually attend the classes. Yes.
If you said that a few students can't actually access like the SNS social networking sites and the internet, why is it that the participants of SPM 2020 can do that? How is it any different than the SPM participants of today?
Because many people at that time, they have the accessibility. They were given the opportunity to have things like iPad, things like laptop earlier, rather than this time it was given later. They have missed so many lessons before. So moving on to my second task, which is reconstructing my team's argument. Now, my first speaker has told you that it is to lessen the possibility to get COVID-19. The main reason of vaccine being created is to lessen the possibility. You can't argue with me with that fact. So with all due respect, when you go to schools, right, you are exposed by many people around the area, and all the things that you hold on, for example, the staircase, rails, and everything, that could be the reason for you to get the virus. So when you are being vaccinated, at least you wouldn't worry about those type of things, because you are most likely to be affected. So moving on to my second speaker has said that it is to convince society to be more confident to send their children to schools. Now, school are a very open place. Yes, when people see that students are not getting the virus when attending school, at least they will be more informative when it comes to the vaccine. At least they will have the initiative to feel, oh, the vaccine is compulsory for me to take, because look at the students that are going to school, they are not affected by those viruses. So that means that I need to emphasize that to myself and to my own family to get the vaccine, to take the initiative to get the vaccine, find where to get the vaccine. And last but not least, my second speaker has mentioned that it is to improve the productivity. No one could argue with me is that when you are in an online class, you can't 100% focus because of the temptation in terms of Googling things when the teacher asks you to do things and things of that nature. So when you are doing online classes, it lessens your focus towards the main thing that you are trying to do, which is learning. So that is why we want online classes to be valid again by getting the vaccine. So with all due respect, ladies and gentlemen, based on the cases that have been brought by two sides of the house, we can conclude that we, the government team, understand the motion better, and we provide beneficial things towards both sides of the parties. So with that, thank you for lending me your ears. And with that, I propose. Thank you.
Thank you, the government whip, for the speech just now. The speaker spoke for 7 minutes and 47 seconds. The speaker spoke for 7 minutes and 47 seconds. Next, let's continue with rebuttals from opposition side. Let's invite opposition whip to begin his main speech.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
And I will begin my speech in 3, 2, 1. Good morning to Mr. or Madam Chairman, distinguished guests, teachers, and students. The topic for our debate is that this House believes that COVID-19 vaccination should be a precondition for students to resume in-person classes. And we, the opposition team, believe that this statement is false. And so I'll begin with my rebuttal, which is the first speaker for the government team has tried to tell you that the student should get COVID-19 vaccine to lessen the possibility to get infection from COVID-19, which is, of course, a great thing to begin with. But even though it can increase the level of immunity among the student, there is still raising cases among students, which is why we, the opposition team, believe that COVID-19 vaccination should not be a precondition for students to resume in-person classes, as some of the COVID-19 vaccine is still being tested and not yet be fully confirmed to be safe. And so the second speaker has tried to tell that getting a COVID-19 vaccine for the COVID-19 vaccine for the student can eventually convince the society to put more trust to the children to be sent to school, and secondly, increasing the student productivity. And so first of all, the first point is wrong, because there is still some part of the society that do not want their children to get vaccinated. For example, anti-vax parents that do not want their kids to get vaccinated because they believe that some sort of conspiracy is going on between the government and the people, and they try to deny this vaccine as they don't want to get any kind of bad impact from this vaccine. And so she also said that students that get COVID-19 vaccine precondition to them could increase their productivity. She could also mean by this as if student was not productive as before they get vaccinated. So if she say that student getting COVID-19 vaccine can increase their productivity, this means that before they get the COVID-19 vaccine,
Your eye, please.
they are yes, please.
Okay, let's look back at what you were saying before. You trust, some of the people trust about the conspiracy about the vaccine, and vaccine is the possibility of getting infected. So does that mean you have a better solution for us to end this infection by not getting vaccinated?
Yes. For first of all, there is a standard operating procedure, which is try to make people that didn't believe in vaccine to stay at their home only. That's it. And so to continue with my point, which is could increase the student productivity. This could imply that mean that even before the student get the vaccine, they are still productive as ever as before. But if she said that if the student get the vaccine, get the COVID-19 vaccine, this could increase their productivity. And so to view and so we have to try to look at a much bigger picture. Much bigger picture of the vaccine. And so there's a lot of vaccine that has been produced by some of the world country, which is such as Pfizer, CanSino, AstraZeneca, and J&J. And some of the vaccine are still tested whether or not they're still safe or not. And so we should take a precaution that not all vaccine is safe for the student or the people, and we should worry about that the one that receiving a vaccine is a student, and we do not want to put a danger on the student to get a vaccine that is not guaranteed to be safe to begin with. And so I would like to summarize our first speaker and second speaker point, which is our first speaker spoke to you about vaccine is not safe for underage students. This can be seen that some students might get difficult breathing, throat inflammation, and fever. Of course, it different depending on that individual themselves. And she also spoke about that we should not compromise the student's safety over education, as she stated earlier about the effect that this student could get from getting vaccinated, which is emphasized more with the fact that vaccination can potentially bring harm to certain individuals. And our second speaker told you that after vaccination, students still have a risk to get infected from COVID-19, as it is still not yet known whether it is safe for students to attend to school. No one could predict what will happen if the student attend to school, even if they get vaccinated. There is possibility that there will be an infection case happen in that particular school, even if 99% of the students get vaccinated. And he also said that some students that has some health problem could not qualify to get a COVID-19 vaccination and couldn't attend to their school, even though if they want to. And so, Mr. and Chairman, distinguished guests, teachers, and students, in conclusion, our team believes that COVID-19 vaccine should not be precondition for students to resume in-person classes. We try to establish an idea that students should not get vaccine in the first hand, and we of course supported an idea of getting vaccinated, but without any guarantee from any parties that responsible for distribution of the vaccine that this student will receive later on is 100% safe. With that being said, we the opposition team rejected this motion, and that is our absolute answer. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, the opposition whip, for the speech just now. Speaker spoke for 7 minutes and 43 seconds. The speaker spoke for 7 minutes and 43 seconds. Ladies and gentlemen, we have done successfully our first part of debate. Now we are moving to our reply speech. Dear debaters, you are now given 3 minutes to prepare for your reply speech. You are now given 3 minutes to prepare for your reply speech, starting the preparation from now.
Yana habis.
Ladies and gentlemen, members of the floor, the 3 minutes have ended. I shall now invite the reply speaker from opposition side to deliver his speech.
Okay, I will be starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, COVID-19 has no longer become a surprise to any of us here. And due to this, people from all around the world have created an array of vaccines such as the Pfizer, Sinovac, J&J, etc. We as a community should realize the importance of taking the vaccine and protecting our community. But from what we have heard today, we understand that the government thinks that students' safety and health regarding the vaccines are not serious matters and can be ignored, and that physical classes were superior to the online classes, which is currently ongoing right now. They even tried to disprove the point given by me, which is that online classes have no negative effects toward the students' education, even though I've given sufficient evidence. And they even said that maybe SPM 2020 participants had access to internet and all that, and students now might not have those facilities. But didn't the Malaysian government already provided sufficient data for students all around the country this year, which did not exist during the time the SPM 2020 participants were preparing? Their own points undermined their own arguments undermined their points and couldn't seem to make up their mind. We, the opposition, propose a much more realistic approach that ensures the well-being of students today, an approach that realizes that the education of children is not more important and is equally as important as the well-being of the student. The opposition team were unable to provide any solid and acceptable reasonings behind their motion. Therefore, we should have every right to win today's arguments. That's all. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you for the reply speech from the opposition bench. Just now, the speaker spoke for 1 minute and 50 seconds. The speaker spoke for 1 minute and 50 seconds. Ladies and gentlemen, members of the floor, now we continue with the reply speech from the government side. Now, let's invite the reply speaker from the government side.
Am I audible?
Yes, miss.
I will begin my speech in 3, 2, 1. Good afternoon. I, as the Deputy Minister of the government, will be delivering today's reply speech. As stated earlier by the first speaker, by making COVID-19 vaccine a precondition for students to resume in-person classes is actually a precaution among the students to ensure their safety, to lessen the side effects. The opposition team failed to acknowledge the importance of the COVID-19 vaccine by stating that those who are vaccinated still were infected. But you need to remember that the purpose of vaccine is to lessen the side effects, not to completely defeat the virus. Bear that in mind. They also stated that by taking that vaccine gives a lot of side effects, but please bear in mind that, as stated by our third speaker, this only happens for a while. And even though chronic cases can happen, they have their own cures, and besides, the possibility of these kinds of cases are very low since it is very rare. Now let me move on. They are also only stating the bright side of online classes rather than actually admitting the disadvantages of the online classes. They are not acknowledging the majority opinion from students, which clearly proves that online classes is actually detrimental to the academics. And why is this so? This is because once they are on, as the third speaker stated earlier, you cannot agree. You cannot argue with me that once you are in online classes, you are not actually focusing as well as you are in in-person classes, since you do not have the pressure to actually focus, because the teacher will not be able to punish you if you are actually doing something wrong in classes. Let me move on. So, in conclusion, our arguments are much more valid as we, the government, give much more advantages rather than disadvantages. And that is why the motion today should be agreed and accepted. With that, thank you.
Thank you. The reply speaker from government side. The speaker spoke for 2 minutes and 34 seconds. The speaker spoke for 2 minutes and 34 seconds. Yes, that's the end for our debate. Dear educators, please key in your score sheet to the technical officer before head back to the main room. Debaters, you're required to stay put in this room until the result is announced. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, members of the flow, the result is already on my hand. Now, I would like to announce the result for today's debate. The motion this House believes that COVID-19 vaccination should be a precondition for students to resume in-person classes is accepted. So the winning team is from government, SMK, Baru Bintulu. Congratulations to both teams. So after this, you are going to access the main room, waiting for the next announcement from the technical officer and also the teachers. Okay, thank you so much. Hats off.
Good afternoon to the schools. Okay, for the students from room 1 and room 3. Okay, so I have something for to ask for your favor. Please fill in the registration form for me. Okay, I kindly forget about it. Okay, so I'll type the address here, the link here. So kindly fill in the link for me. Thank you very much. For the students only, yeah. Okay, so we have